Ever find yourself in a maze of what actually are some real life, and I do mean real life project management fundamentals? Wondering if there's a light really at the end of this tunnel called project management. Well, if you're new to the episode or new to the channel, I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, that just simply means Ed. I have an 8 point framework, and these 8 points, my goal, my plan, is to unpack today's title, which is entitled Project Management Fundamentals, the Unconventional Wisdom Every PM, and I do mean every PM needs to know. Let's work. You know what I was thinking, family, before we go into our 8 points? I was really truly thinking about when you look at project management fundamentals. Yes, there's communication. Yes, there's leadership. Yes, there's scope. Yes, there's budget or cost. And I started doing my homework and I said, what could I bring to the family that would be different than what they've ever seen before? Meaning, not just the normal, what I just named there, because these are fundamentals. Yes, they're required. But what about something that's real life? What if I bring something to you that's pragmatic, something that you can use today, whether you're new to project management or if you've been in this game longer than I have? It's something that is definitely going to be effective. So let's get into these points. Point number one: the power of active listening. You know, one of the things, the reasons why I say as project managers, we need to study sales. The reason why we need to study sales as well as marketing is because in sales, if you want to be an exceptional, if you want to be an effective project manager, that having the ability to listen, to give your full attention, not to be playing with your phone, not to be to really give your full attention. And then watch this, family, having the ability to summarize what you've actually heard and then asking clarifying questions. Have you ever been sold something and someone really just took the time to listen to what you needed and then asked you, then wrote down, was taking notes of what you needed and then started asking you clarifying questions just to ensure they heard what you were saying? That's, as project managers, that's so key, because we're in many it was too many m's on there, but we are in many meetings and we are constantly engaging with our stakeholders, and sometimes we'll overlook what a stakeholder is saying because we're like, man, we've already got this in place, we already got this documented, why do we need? But it's imperative. No, no, no. It's important that we listen to our stakeholders because they know something that we don't know. So let's give them an opportunity at least to voice it. Let's document it. And if we don't need to use it, great. But what if we do? So that's why it's important, family, making sure that we practice active listening, or just having the power of active listening. Family, as you know, if you're watching this, today is Friday. If you're watching this and I don't know when, but this Saturday, which is the 24th, and Sunday, the 25th, my mentor, my friend, my buddy is having a PMP boot camp. I don't know why you would want to be anywhere else between the hours of 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The reason why is you're going to learn so much. There's going to be 7 modules he's going to cover in 2 days. This is going to be amazing. I hope that you can join. I'll pin the link in there. But if it's after the 24th and the 25th of February, February 24th and February 25th, you may have missed out, but you don't want to miss it if you're watching it, if you're tuning in now. All right, let's get into the rest of these points here. Point number two: assertive communication techniques. What does that mean? Family, you have to be able to set clear boundaries and manage stakeholders' expectations. If we're unable to set clear boundaries, there's a saying that don't be a doormat. What is a doormat? A doormat is something that people, before they're entering your place of residency, they wipe their feet off on before entering, hopefully respectfully. But that sometimes can happen as a project manager. You want to get into you get so caught up in pleasing your stakeholders and pleasing your project sponsor, that if you don't push back and say, hey, we need to do some more homework on this, we need to do a deeper dive in this, I don't think this is going to be aligned with the direction we're going, I'm gonna have to push back on this until I can gather some more information. We're just not gonna just throw it in there just because you said. We can sit and talk through it and walk through it before we just put something out there that is irrelevant. So again, family, having that ability to practice and leverage it by, when I say practice, meaning you're being assertive in your conversation, and not and it's really, it's one of those things where you have to really know when to be passive and then when you need to be truly aggressive, and not passive aggressive, but really just passive of saying, okay, yep, that let's like I pointed out in point number one. All right, that makes sense. Let's see what they're talking about here, because you're listening to what the stakeholder is saying. So it's really the ability just to say no respectfully, but then provide the reason why you're saying no. And a lot of times, it depends on what the situation is. I mean, no means no, but I do understand when a stakeholder is coming up with a particular suggestion, you want to practice your active listening. And then once you're active listening to that, and let's say you go to the sponsor says, no, this is not the direction. And you say, well, why do you not want to go in that direction? And the sponsor may say, hey, it's going to affect our costs, our scope, and things like that. Great. You go back to your stakeholders, say, listen, we're not moving in that direction. And you be assertive in that. Say, but however, this is what I will do. Again, is document, because we know documentation would always be conversation. Point number 3, this is huge. Message, strategic patience and timing. Listen, before making a decision, before taking action, consider the broader context and timing. Wait, and I know this is challenging because I still struggle with this, family. Waiting for the right time or the right moment to be impactful will be favorable for you. And it's subjective. I mean, I can't tell you, hey, that's the right time. It's something over time, as you continue to lead your projects, that you kind of pick point, you'll be able to figure that out, because it's going to change based on the stakeholders that you have, based on the project sponsor you have, based on the organization you're working on, because there's certain organizations that like to move extremely fast. There's speed to market. There's certain organizations that they're in the middle, fast and kind of slow. And then there's other organizations that really like to move slowly and take their time with the decision making. So practicing strategic patience and timing, because if you're somebody like me that's like, all right, let's go test and experiment to see. Sometimes you may have to play in the middle, or play the slow game until everyone can catch up with you. Point number 4, mastering the art of feedback. Listen, you need to learn how to give a balanced, objective feedback to acknowledge whether we're doing well or we're not doing well. And when we're talking about, when we're discussing not doing well, being able, and again, you seem like I keep talking about this word, documenting where we're not doing well at, and working with the team to figure out how we can improve, because it's just not all about giving criticism and critique and not giving actionable steps. A lot of times I've seen in organizations where I've watched project managers lead projects, they give criticism, but then they don't have, hey, how do we fix this? They focus on the problem so much, they don't find the solutions. They'll give you 30 reasons of the problem, but won't give you 1 or 2 examples of how we can fix this, because you really want the team to collectively come together. We work collaborative to come to a solution. So when you give the criticism, throw yourself in there, being part of it. However, it is up to the team collectively to work through the particular items. Point number 5, you need to be resilient and adaptable. What does that look like? I call it the bounce back theory. I've shared this on a previous video where I had this little toy where at the bottom it was a weight. It don't matter how much I sat on it. Yes, it stayed down when I was sitting on it, but once I got up, it got up as well. So I say all that to say, family, you have to remain resilient. There's going to be, it's when you're in an airplane, sometimes they'll tell you when they're flying and it's rough, and they say, hey, we're experiencing some turbulence. Sometimes on projects you will experience, okay, I'm not even going to say sometimes. Majority of the time you will face some turbulence, but that's the unique thing about it, is because you should be facing turbulence. If you're on a project and you don't face any friction, you don't face anything, I know I'm probably about to get in trouble. I don't believe that's a project because you shouldn't know everything that's coming around the corner. It would be nice if that was the case, then projects wouldn't be temporary endeavors. So, anyway, be having the ability to be resilient and adaptable at the same time. Point number 6, prioritizing the safety of the team dynamics. Family, this is a double message moment because you need to protect the safety of your stakeholders. What do you mean by protecting the safety? Family, if you're having transparent conversations within that team, it needs to stay there. My dad would always say, even my mom would say, what goes on in this house stays in this house. That translates into, family, when you are working with a team, you guys need to understand the importance of fostering being transparent and having the ability to say and articulate of what's going on, and knowing that we're talking about the project. This is not a personal attack at you, project manager. This is not a personal attack at you, stakeholder. This is not a personal attack at you, sponsor. But we need to be transparent. I shared with you also about what Cody Sanchez loved, the little clip she put out there around, hey, it's when she talked about when founders or startups would basically ask, hey, poke holes at this. We don't care. What we care about is winning. And that's the biggest thing. Sometimes we can get away from, hey, what do we come here? Winning to us is having a successful outcome of this project, meaning that we met the triple constraints, meaning it's within scope, within budget, with on time. We deliver this on time and within quality. So look at these particular aspects, family. We are looking to win. So we need to, as project managers, we need to lead and protect a safe place for our sponsor, for our stakeholders to come and tell us what's really happening, get to the root of it so we can fix it. All right, point number 7, building reservoirs of trust before you need them. Oh man, this is my cherry. This is one I should have saved this for last, because this is one of the one when my mentor gave me this, I was blown away. I was like, oh, it makes so much sense. But a lot of project managers don't do it. And I'm telling you now, because I told you this was going to be different. This wasn't going to be your typical project management fundamentals. I got that video too, but I really wanted to touch and do some things that will really set you apart. And building reservoirs of trust before you need them is going to be important. What does that look like? Investing time in getting to know your team and stakeholders. Watch this, family, on a personal level. Yeah, on a personal level. Because what we have to understand is that yes, this is business. Yes, we need to conduct business appropriately, but I need to know who I'm working with. How can I know that who I'm working with? How can I build a relationship? Because I've always shared with you, you never know how in the future you may be working with that stakeholder again, and they're like, man, I really enjoy working with that project manager. I definitely want to jump on that project, even though I may be strapped over here, but I want to work because I know they're going to have my best interests at heart. So developing that trust, developing of getting to know each other a little bit better. And family, it starts with you as the project manager. Point number 8, the benefits of learning from other industries. What I started doing, and I don't know where I picked this technique up, but I started looking at case studies and best practices from other industries, because I was curious. I was like, what is applicable to the industry that I'm in? How can I use that? How can I leverage that? So, family, start looking at other industries besides the industry you're in. So if you're in, I don't know, the finance, look at IT. If you're in IT, look at finance, or look at, it's just so many in construction. Like there may be some values or principles or the way that they lead the project that you can infuse into what you're actually doing. I can't leave you. I always got to over deliver, family. So here's my first bonus. My first bonus is you keep a curiosity, or I should say, be curious about project management. Continue to foster an environment where questions are encouraged. Continue to foster an environment where exploration is value, where your opinion as far as you doing the work and providing, watch this, family, when you have a problem, providing a proposed solution. That is going to be key. Just don't go to your team with problems or your leadership with problems without a proposed solution. Don't care if you're right or wrong. It's just the whole point of that's that curiosity aspect of things. My last and final bonus, which is going to make a lot of sense here, and it's simple: focus. I've shared this before, family. One of the biggest things that I've done, that I've learned that works for me, and I hope that it will work for you is, and you seems, and I didn't even know it was that simple. There's two things, two key things, and I'll let you go after I give you my closing remarks. First thing is being able to put your phone in do not disturb. The second thing is being able to, if you are leading various projects or you're part of various meetings, one of the things I've seen that has been very effective for me, and I picked this tip up all, I was, again, different industry. I seen a guy, a CEO, he talked about how on his phone, for the alarm feature, he would create different alarms to let him know, hey, I need to be at this such meeting. So let's say a meeting started at 2, he would set his alarm for 1:55 2 p.m. Let's say, and he would set his alarm for 1:55 p.m. He would put in there what the name of the meeting is in his alarm, just like how your alarm would go off on your phone, like if you set it for, hey, I want to wake up at this certain time. So I'm saying all that, family, because it's very important. I have 3 points, in my closing remarks. Here's my very first one: the power of active listening. As I said, I really truly believe project managers are salespeople. Reason why is because we have to have the ability of giving our full attention to the conversation so we can understand what is being asked and what is needed. And sometimes what is not being articulated, what is not being articulated, and figuring out what is the real ask. And so getting to the root of things, and then having the ability to summarize what you've just heard, and then asking those clarifying questions. The second point is being able to be assertive in your communication, learning when to be passive and learning when to be aggressive, not passive aggressive, but learning when to play each part, because there's going to be a part where sometimes you don't need to get into that fight. You don't need to get into that conflict. What you need to do is just sit back and see kind of how things play out. But there are certain times where you need to assert yourself, where you need to be assertive and let them know, hey, no, we're not doing that, and this is the reason why. You always want to give your why, your reason why. And the last and final thing is building those reserves for trust, because when you establish a real relationship with people you work with, they want to go further with you than someone that you don't. Until next time, it's been your boy ED. I'm out.